This is JJ Humphrey, and this is Elephant in the Room. Bob, it is good to have you today. It is a very beautiful day. We got so much to talk about, just a lot going on.
Well, get started and don't talk about it. Just get going, JJ.
What, Bob? I would do that, but what I was looking for, we had a young man one time. His name was Jeff, and I couldn't remember his last name, but he was killed today. In May back in 2012. He was a probation pro officer, and he went to do a home visit.
I remember that.
I knocked him off the porch, and they wrestled around, got his gun, and he shot him in the head with that gun. And so it's a big, big deal. And for those of y'all who don't know, I used to be a probation officer. Just stuff like that. I try not to forget.
Was this the anniversary of it?
Yeah.
Oh, so boy, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I just want to remember
his family.
Yeah, I just want to call it out today and just remember it and say, hey, we're thinking of the family, thinking of him, and just remembering that. And so it was a big, big deal. And we just want to call that out today and give a shout out to his family and every one of you guys in DOC that do the work that you do, that a lot of people don't recognize. Your life's on the line. Hey, Bob, what I'm doing now, we will get started because we got just too much to put in for today. So, Bob, when Trump come out, President Trump come out, started doing the DOGE, everybody wanted to do the DOGE. So we go in and we do our caucus with the Republicans, and man, all she heard about, we're going to do the Oklahoma DOGE. We're going to do the DOGE. The governor come out, we're going to do the DOGE. And a friend of mine said they won't be doing the DOGE, they'll be doing the Dodge. And so when he said that, I go, I'm going to steal that right there from you because that's just too good. So I started doing the Oklahoma DOGE report because sure enough, they're not dodging, they're dodging. And so I've got to.
JJ, if he was really serious about it, he'd get rid of Harp, seeing all the money he's wasted over there.
Well, Bob, that's only one little small. Let's just start right there.
I know it, but that's one he could do right away.
I'll kick that one off right there because guess what? When we're talking about DOC, if y'all will remember when we started session this year, I filed a bill to change the name of the Department of Corrections to the Department of Corruption. And people got really mad because of that. But I said, hold it. Here's what's going to happen. They had a 1-year contract for a private prison. That means they knew in a year that they were going to have to do something. Now, Bob, you've been around government for a long time. And if you're going to make proposals, so if I'm going to say, Bob, here, you're the legislator, and I'm going to come back and say, Bob, it's going to cost this much to build a prison. What would you like to see? What do you think I ought to offer? Could I just come in and say, y'all take my word for it, it costs this much?
Well, I think you ought to see how much it costs to get one, or how much we got prisons that we shut down. Maybe we could remodel those and do some work and get it better than three. How many millions? 300 million?
Well, Bob, and both of those are solid ideals. So he should have went out and had some bids made where he could have walked back in the legislature and said, okay, this is the size of prison we're talking about building, something that hold 3,000 inmates, 2,000 inmates. This is the size. Here's the level. Was it maximum, medium, whatever. And here's where we're going to put it. Where you're using land you already have, those kind of things. Do we have water? All that kind of stuff. But here's a bid. And you go out and you get 2 or 3 of those bids to say, hey, here's what it would cost so that people know you actually seriously looked at that. Bob, they shut down William S. Key. You remember when they did that?
Yeah.
So here we have a prison sitting out there that the state owns.
And a lot of land go with it.
Lots of land. And that city out there, I was trying to think, it's right there at Woodward, Keys, Fort Supply is what it was.
William S. Keys, right?
Yeah, it's William S. Keys, Fort Supply, right out of Woodward. So Woodward and Fort Supply had a lot of jobs right there. They would like to see this thing come back, I'm sure. And again, that's one place. There's so many around there. He could have gave a proposal for that. But you know what proposal he provided, Bob, that I know of? I guarantee you, I didn't see anything, and I'm pretty up on it. He gave zero proposal. All right. So here he's known for a year he's got to have this. So I was telling him right off the bat, here's what he'll do. He'll keep his mouth shut. Him and the governor won't say a word. They were talking about how terrible this place was. They went down there and dumped 1,800 mental health inmates on the facility. If it's so bad, why are you dumping some of the worst inmates there? And then they turn around and offer no alternative. Guess what? And then at the last minute, they jump up. We got to buy the prison. Now that's where we are.
The whole year to do something to try to make a plan of some type, at least get some bids. My understanding that they're not interested in leasing to us. They either buy it for that amount of money. That's what we all want for, or we don't buy it. We're not going to sell it.
And here's the deal, Bob. They put us in a place because now you got all these ICE prisoners. So again, they don't have to contract to us.
Well, JJ, how many things have you sold and you said, hey, I want $2,000. I'm not going to knock it off the dime. That's what I want.
Yeah, not very. And the only thing that you can sell like that, Bob, is when you're in the catbird seat and you got them. And that's where they're at. That DOC.
You got to offer less money. You still got to try to bargain with them.
Why should they bargain? They've got them over a barrel. And they know they got them over a barrel. And again,
wait a minute. This guy is supposed to be the real smart guy that knows how to do things like this. That's about how smart he is and how he's been running the facility.
I've never seen anybody get in a worse negotiation place. He's got nowhere to negotiate out of. But here's what's funny. He didn't have to because he put the legislator in a place, and all the legislators, we're not going to pay this. Bull, you are, because he's done played you, because he's done stuck it on you. What are you going to do? And I will promise you, they're going to buy this. They're going to buy them because it's played. Now, Bob also, and we could spend a lot of time just on that. The fact I was told he's never even set foot. You're going to buy a prison, 300 foot, 14 million, never set foot in it. And you've been director for 3 years. Here's a prison that has 2,300, one of your largest prison. You said it was terrible, and you never went to it. How in the world? I mean, Bob, you can't make
do that, JJ, and fly around the country.
Yeah, and again, we caught him lying about all his travel. He's joining this woke group, bragging about the woke group that you remember who was donating to that? What was that called? The Vera Institute of Justice. Yeah. Y'all look that up, man. Kamala is one of the main. Act Blue. That'll tell you right there.
Well, you better get onto the other stuff because you got a lot of stuff to talk
about. Before we leave that, Bob, he gave himself a $90,000 raise. I've asked for authorization. Who authorized that? I put in open records. They sent me back. There are no records for authorization. That means he has embezzled. We've also got him lying on in front of the committee twice, once on the raise, once on a prison rape elimination, claiming to have a much higher standard. And this even went out in the paper, Bob, that they said he lied, that the auditor, he come in and said, the auditor said we have a gold standard. No standard. I mean, here's what's funny. The auditor come back and said, that's a lie. We never said that. So he got caught lying to these committees. Bob, we've got him on some human rights violation big time. We're working on covered up murder things. So, I mean, you want to talk about massive abuse going on at the Department of Corrections. You want to talk about $314 million. Crazy.
That's not all of it. He's hired lawyers to represent cases that they're going to lose.
Bob, I didn't even
all the way up, and he's hired lawyers for about almost $1,000 a day. He's paying these guys. And
Bob, I forgot about that. I completely forgot and left that off because, again, you have to get approval from the AG to go outside and get those lawyers so that y'all understand what we're talking about. Because it ain't just DOC doing this. Bob's bringing up an awesome point because here's some more fraud that I did not put on. I'm going to add that to 9 lawyers. But here's what's happening. Not just in DOC, but DHS, these others. They're getting sued. They have a general counsel. That means they have a whole division of a bunch of lawyers that represent them. But instead of paying those lawyers, they go and get an outside law firm. And in DOC, there's massive. Me and Bob are involved in what, probably 30 cases. Bob,
Right.
you got that one with 6 cases with all the people he fired. But here's what's funny: the cases me and Bob are involved in, they're not massive cases. These are wrongful firings that they've already lost in court on. Now he's appealing on. Why would you hire?
Twice?
Yes, and why would you go hire an outside lawyer for an easy case like that? And pay them $500 an hour to do this? It's insane. You talk
more
about
than $500 an hour,
gross
Judge.
abuse. Well, when 2 show up, it's 1,000, and we know one case where 2 showed up. So again, this is a massive abuse. It's millions and millions of dollars that we're talking.
They told them though on one case, and she's already announced it out. So I'm going to make my mom mention her name because I mean I like this lady. She was just top notch. Tifa Tiller. They fired her for no reason. And you remember people say when the state of Oklahoma, they can fire you for any reason because we're what's it called? At will state. Well,
Right.
That's not true. If you just fire somebody because you don't like them or you don't like their looks or something, you have a right. They they had no right to fire her, but they did. And the judge said, I'm not going, this is when in federal court or state court, the judge said that I'm not going to retry this. We already been to court twice, and I'm not going to overlook somebody else's. They've done it twice, 2 different judges. So put her back to work and give her 2 years back pay. Why do you bet they'd turn around and appeal it again? They're spending money. Their whole ideal is to spend the money on appealing is to try to break OCP. This should be against the law with what they're even doing.
Right. And guys, if you don't know, OCP is that Department of Corrections Employees Association. And what it looks like, and me and Bob's been very involved in this.
That's what it is. It don't look like it. That's what it is.
I always like to say allegedly until we can prove it. But
it looks like it.
We have a lot of proof that he is filing all this stuff to try to, and he's made statements that he's going to do away with the association.
Right.
I don't so anti-employee, but he is anti-employee. And so again, he fires a lot of people wrongfully. He's losing. He appeals it on the state's dime. It ain't coming out of his pocket. And he's doing that to try to break OCP because
back up, JJ. In some of those cases, they didn't even offer any evidence that it's wrong. It's because we're DOC, and that's this. You just believe what we say.
Well, and Bob, I have asked the AG's office to give me how many of those cases have we gotten a proper form. Now, if you'll remember, the AG went after Ryan Walters for doing that, getting outside counsel. And I think Todd Russ, I believe it's Todd Russ, the treasurer on that BlackRock deal. You remember he got, I think they went after him. So when that happened, I went over and said, hey, I was looking at this. So how is DOC getting away with this? How many cases has DOC had? And how many cases has DHS had? You know what answer I've got?
0.
0, Bob. 0. So again, we're going to, I'd forgotten to look at that. I appreciate it, Bob, because that's going to be another DOGE report. I'm going to do a DOGE. They're dodging that one because that's a lot of money when you look at DHS, DOC, and all the other agencies. It's a big, big $1 million DOGE thing. Bob, I'll go just switch to DHS, and we're going to rock and roll on these. DHS, Bob, had 100. Now, this is what I understand. $100 million missing. Okay. Where's the $100 million? Who knows? Now, Bob, you remember when I first got up there, we had $32 million missing from health department. Health department, wasn't it, Bob?
Yeah.
So you remember that was a big, big deal. You remember that?
And the House gave them money, and we never got it back. I just checked on that the other day.
And so nobody ever went to jail on it, Bob. Nobody ever got in trouble.
They took the money from the county House, took the money from the commissioners, county commissioners' money.
Right. And it was their special project, building bridges, things like that. And yeah, I don't think they ever got those projects back. So
No,
the people that
that's
stayed
what I
on
heard. It.
screwed on that, and then they end up finding the money and never gave the other money back. It's quite crazy, but it was a big deal. It was blown up. Everybody knows. Here we have $100 million missing from DHS. Bob, as most of the public I talked to, they didn't even know it or unaware of it. Legislators don't know it.
I haven't heard of it. It's been. I don't think it's been in the paper.
I've not heard. That's why I say it's my understanding, because it's like, is this going on? Is it not? I'm a legislator. I do know they come back in, because I watched the video on this, Bob. They come back in and ask for an extra 100 million to replace this, was my understanding. And one of the freshmen said, "Well, what are we going to use that for?" And I laughed, the budget guy. And now you got to appreciate it, because we're missing 100 million. We don't hold them accountable. We hold no responsibility. Come back in and ask for 100 million. Somebody goes, "What are we doing with that?" And the answer is, um, I'll have to get back. We're gonna have to double back around. I don't want to give you bad numbers. We're ironing the wrinkles out of that. I'll get back with you later. My gosh, man, how in the world can we have that? And Bob, every day we're getting calls. You saw where DA Adam Pantner, down there at Lincoln County and Pottawatomie County, called for a multi-county grand jury because of all the problems. We've got grand jury petitions in Garfield. I think they're fixing to have one in Payne. They've got one in Wagner, and a bunch of it. It's all this DHS stuff. We tried to get one in Oklahoma City. They've had one previously at Lincoln and Pottawatomie. All of these issues, and the AG is saying, well, there's not enough evidence to warrant a grand jury, a multi-county grand. What would it take? I mean, daggum, and he got a report, 350-page report from a law firm that said kids are possibly being waterboarded at a mental health institution. I know I sent him that information. We had a hearing that had 2 hours. We sent the video. We put everything out. What would it take?
Did you have some depositions, or not depositions, but some statements from employees that it was going on?
Absolutely. We had people show up. We had the lawyers that made that. We had another case that they wrongfully fired the DA in Tulsa County, filed kidnapping on a lady for taking her own kids. Get this, DHS tells her that if you don't get those kids out of that home, we're going to file on you for neglect. She takes the kids out of the home, and then guess what? She gets charged for kidnapping her own kids, and that's pending for 2 or 3 years. And they've offered her a deal. She's not taking it because it's a made up deal. But she doesn't even have her kids. All this time, it's horrendous what DHS is doing. We've got tapes, we've got information that shows they falsified records, all kinds of things, and yet we can't get anything done with our leadership, our governor. We got the Woolley case. It's insane. These people were charged 2 or 3 times. The state had to drop it because they didn't have a case. They took their kid without having a hearing, and it's been 6 years. They've been unable to get their kid back, even though they've never been found guilty of one thing. Again, it's kidnapping. We need to file kidnapping on the people responsible for that. We need to hold the court responsible for that. We need to hold those DAs. But this is what's going on, DHS, 100 million missing, all of this abuse, can't get hearings, can't get anything done, and the government wants to totally ignore it. The governor wants to ignore it. The AG wants to ignore it, and our legislators' leadership wants to ignore it. So that's a big one. You got the DOC, $314 million sham.
Now, this is all in your DOGE report?
I've already done those 2 DOGE reports. Oh, we're rocking and rolling, Bob. I'm gonna try to put it all together so when I get done, everybody can go, wow, how in the world did he come up with all of that? But Bob, if you remember when we started, I did the little deal about changing the name of corrections to corruption. But I also come out with the bill said, let's take and abolish mental health and let's put them under the Department of Corruption. You know what I'm saying? And people went crazy and they lost their mind. So it was a good thing they went crazy on a mental health bill. So here's the deal. But what I was saying with that, and I waited, and people go, well, he's got a creative way of showing a point. So they understood what I was saying. But here's what I was saying. Where is the money? Where's the money going? You're not spending it on beds. You're not getting it down there where we're having where we're keeping people from going penitentiary. We're intercepting all of these drugs and all this mental health stuff going on with all the fentanyl and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
So
JJ,
yeah,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but the real sad part is the state's doing this, and the state, Oklahoma Department of Corrections, is not set up to handle all these mental patients. That's not what they do. That's not what they're trained to do. That's what's sad, that the governor is doing this.
And look at, and we were talking about Lawton a while ago, how they were dumping all those mental health people that they should not have. Now we'll stand up for the Department of Corrections on that, and I agree with you. They got dumped with stuff they should not have, and having to deal with that because mental health is not doing their job. Remember though, they dumped all of those, and that was their bad, dumping all those on Lawton.
Well, what's the AG done? What's he done?
Nothing. Nobody's doing anything. And Bob, one of those mental health guys cut somebody's head off about a month ago. You remember that? They beheaded a guy there but here's the thing, Bob. It's getting dumped not only on DOC, and that's what I come out and said. Look, where's the money? Because they're failing to do anything. And where in the heck's the money going? And it's gone. And where
DOC's broke. I understand.
DOC is broke. They say it. And they can't even order stuff. Their uniforms, they can't replace uniforms.
The food, so I've been told the food is worse, and that'd be the first place you're going to get a ride when you have bad food.
Same thing. But here, mental health is dumping on them, but they're also dumping on the jails, and we are getting lawsuit after lawsuit on the jail. Now, Bob, here's what's funny. I called all that back in January, February. I filed that in January. Okay. People got crazy. People got mad. But guess what? They can't even meet their payroll. They're missing. They got to have 23 million to get that. Bob, they don't even know how much. At least DHS knows they got 100 million gone. Mental health can't tell you. They start off with 43. They go up to 63. It looks like you're going to the auction at the cattle auction. Hey, we got a 43. We got a 45, 50, 55, 60, 65. We're up to 90 now, and nobody knows. Nobody say, where does it stop? Is there some places, get me off the merry-go-round on this thing. Bob, that is insane. And you know how many people's been fired? Here's 3 agencies, Bob, that are big agencies, and we're pointing out some massive abuse. Bob, can I get a witness? We were calling this before legislation started, not after. Now they're all acting like they just found this out.
Yeah, they didn't know it. Long time ago,
calling this DOC deal. Here's what's going to happen. Let me put on my prophet hat. Boom, and it come true. Now here's what's funny. Who got fired, Bob?
Nobody.
And the thing about it is, if you'll remember, the forestry director has a catastrophe with fires all over the state. He deploys people out from southeastern Oklahoma to get in front of this thing. Did a great job, but because some places got burnt, he gets fired when he's doing an awesome job. No money gone. Now, if you remember a funny thing about that, the governor come out and said that his budget, that forestry's budget was 75 million. Totally wrong. That shows, totally wrong. It was 12 million, 12.5. I showed that. The governor was talking about the ag department's 73.5. They weren't even 75.
Totally misrepresented the facts.
Totally misrepresented. But again, he fired him instantly before they ever did any kind of hearings, now they put together a task force made up of mainly people who never even can't say fire.
Yeah, but you know what? Me and you are troublemakers because we're uncovered. We're troublemakers.
I kind of enjoy it. I wear troublemaker like I'm going to say troublemaker and the Dodge are the same. We're Dodge reporters, Bob. We're members of the Dodge committee. You know what I mean? And so, Bob, I just want to point out that nobody is going to jail. Nobody is losing their job. And we just told you 314 million abused, 100 million abused, maybe possibly 90. Who knows? Where does it stop? The jobs aren't being done. Massive abuse, and we're talking about physical, sexual, all these kind of things going on with it. Not just the money missing, not just we're broke, but all of the abuses going with it, fraud, including the lawyers that we're talking about. That's a lot in and by itself. But Bob, we're just getting started. We're just getting warmed up. I started looking into the jail. And so I knew this was going on a little bit back. So I tried to get a group of commissioners to sue the state, and they were a little bit cold footed on that. So I talked to an insurance company, a very, very large insurance company, and say, hey, would you think about insuring? Would you look at this? Now, the ACCO, which is the Association for County Commissioners here in Oklahoma. So the Association of County Commissioners of Oklahoma. They had us insured, and they are dropping insurance around the state. These jails are losing insurance because mental health won't do their job because we're getting sued. So I call these insurance companies and I say,
speaking of that, by the way, they just got sued and paid out. I'm going to say it's allegedly $500,000 just this week to a family for a jail accident, that someone that got killed in the jail walking down the steps when they had them handcuffed at the front and the back. They fell down the stairs, ended up dying in there.
Was that in Grady?
That they were medical was not helping them out. Anyway, they just settled the case for, I heard, $500,000. Now that could be wrong.
Was that Grady County?
Yep.
Grady County. Yeah, I thought. Bob, I heard that they had another death in one of the jails today. So, it's something all the time. But here's the thing, Bob. I asked this insurance to look at this. Could they provide us insurance? Now, here's what's funny. Now it's all of a sudden ACCO's going, oh, we can get insurance now. It's like, well, ain't that funny? And now they're telling them all, you either go with us or you'll be locked out and you can't get this insurance. I'm telling them, well, why don't we compete and why don't we see which one can do, cheaper and better insurance before we start making? Why would ACCO just all of a sudden, you ain't getting nothing, and now all of a sudden, oh, well, you better go with us. We've got it covered again now. That looks a little sketchy, Bob, okay? But what I did, I told this insurance company, I said, hey, while y'all's looking at that, y'all need to go over here and figure out, why are we paying out so many claims? Why are we getting, why are we not getting representation? Why is this thing going? And Bob, they start looking, and we're looking into it. I'm seeing some of these things. And Bob, I swear, and this is what I kind of talk to them a little bit, you have exclusions in insurance. That means if this happens, we're not paying for it. It looks like the group we got settling is just settling all the time. And Bob, you understand this because me and you talked and looked at it. We get these lawyer groups that are getting all these contracts. DOC's giving them to us. ACCO's giving it to them.
I think it's the same lawyer group, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Exactly. That's a big deal. In this, it looks like the same lawyer group over and over again. And Bob, they got ACCO covered, but they also got OMEG covered, which is all the cities. So they're getting everything. They're pleading these out, and some of them look like it has exclusions, like they couldn't even plead them out. Bob, I'm going to go a little bit preliminary here. What I'm looking, I'm not sure, may be criminal. It may be criminal, some of these settlement deals that they have. So I'm looking at that. But Bob, these are millions and millions of dollars. And why is it the same group? It's always the same group. It's 100%. So Bob, I went back and looked. They'd done an audit on them, and they come up with some improper things like giving favoritisms and kids being hired here, whatever. It looks like there was a settlement, but it was sealed, so we can't see how many millions they were supposed to be paid or if it was a million. Assumingly it was, I think. So here's this group that's already been kind of caught with the hand in the cookie jar, but guess who's getting every single case on all of these, who's got all the contracts? I'm starting to go back and look, see who's on the board. It's people on the board working for this group. Might be so, it could be so. Bob, this has a chance to be a scandal. I want to throw loosely a little word RICO. If anybody's watching this, I want to throw out a little word RICO and Sherman antitrust law. Look at that, and see what applies. This is actually scary. Here's what's funny, what's so great is that I've called this insurance company. This insurance company is doing it all for us. So all we have to do is look when they find something and go, yep, you're right. Yep, you're right. And I'm already doing that. I've got a meeting set up with ACCO to say, hey, what's going on? I'm going to walk in there and say, I'm going to lay the cards out. This might get me shot. This is pretty big stuff. So again, Bob, where is the state on all this? You don't hear the state doing any. They're talking about doing DOGE. What is the state? Do you know anything the state's come up with? Do you know anything that they can hang their hat on? You heard anything on DOGE?
I think I heard the governor say something about $1 million. They found $1 million someplace at one time.
Wow.
Which is nothing.
Yeah, it seems like I heard 800 something thousand. It wasn't quite a million. But yeah, Bob, we found that on the lawyer deal that we're talking about. Me and you found that quite a while ago, you know.
Yeah.
Again, 100 million, 1 million. How about 100 million over at DHS? Why are you giving another 100 million back? How about the 90 million? They put together an investigative team. And Bob, you know how the investigation teams work.
Well, JJ, here's one problem. The legislature and the senators know nothing about our prison system. They're not familiar with them. They haven't spent time in doing anything. And they're making decisions that, just like on this $300 million, they're making decisions on things that they really haven't checked it out.
Right. And Bob, here's the deal. They don't want anybody who has checked it out. Again, they don't want to hear from somebody.
Well, I remember one time, one of the hearings, they wouldn't specifically wouldn't let you ask a question because you knew about it. You knew that what was going on. And the House and the Senate, I guess it was a House deal, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. They wouldn't let you ask a question.
Stop me from asking questions. They said, it's got to be on the budget. I said, it is on the budget. It's all on the budget. It's all on the budget. Well, JJ, write it down and send it to them. They can ask you. And again, they're not going to answer me because guess what? They have an agreement. DLC, Bob, sent an email saying they had an agreement with House leadership to stop me from getting any information, that they did not have to give me information. I could only go to their office to view information, and I had to sign a non-disclosure that I could not talk to anybody.
Well, that's a violation right there of your rights.
It's a law violation. It's a law violation. Bob Wick, in fact, we'll probably be back on here in the next coming future talking about, I already got a lawsuit filed, ready to go. It's already written, already ready to go. I got all the evidence. We're going to ding them. We're going to be dinging them. This DOGE report, the DOGE, not the DOGE, the DOGE report is going to turn into some big, big stuff. Y'all hide and watch because unlike our state audits and unlike our investigations who just give reports and set them on the shelf and go, I did my job, let me wash my hands of it. I don't do that. When I do something, I dig in. If we can't get the legislators to act, governor to act, I go to the AG. The AG don't act. I go to DAs. I go to Pam Bondi. I go to the court. I go to get petitions. I go to the media. I do not just sit around and go, okay, I can't do anything. We're going to get to the bottom of these issues, and these are some big, big issues going on. But exactly right, Bob. They don't want anybody who actually knows because they're all in it together. They don't want covered up. DHS, kids being molested.
Didn't they ask you to back off at one time?
Oh, yeah. I've got emails saying, hey, let's not do this. Let's not. go after these kids being molested, waterboarded. I'm going, no, now y'all can do that, but this brother ain't going to do it. Oh, we'll give it to the AG. AG's had it 60 days. I done gave it to the AG 60 days ago. He did absolutely nothing. Got all the emails, got all the documents showing, sent it to the AG, sent it to the governor. This is what's going on. They know it. The people who are talking about doing the DOGE are the ones that have been doing the DOGE for quite some time. Bob, another one we've got. So we talked about the insurance, the jail insurance, the attorneys for ACCO and OMAG. It's a big deal. But another one I was looking into, man, we got, we're a red state, but we got blue regulations. We got massive blue regulations. I got a plan for that next year. I got something I'm gonna hatch out that you're gonna love it, Bob. It'll be lots of fun. But here's the thing. The fire marshal, I got involved in a deal the other day with the fire marshal. And so what they had was they've got this convenience store. It is a one-room convenience store with the kitchen and some bathrooms off to the side of it. Okay. They come in and they say that they got to have a $30,000 alarm system. Now, I go back and look and I'm like, where y'all finding that? Where's that in the code? And where's that? Who did you get that from? Because guess what? It ain't there. That's just them saying, well, we got this in code. Well, who authorized you to have that in code? How did y'all get that set up? It ain't there to my understanding. Now, here's what's funny, Bob. They're going out and doing all these regulations. I'll give you an example. We passed a law saying that we didn't have to inspect these trailers, with these vent hoods, these trailers make food. So they said, okay, we're going to leave that. Well, this year they come back in, pass a law saying, oh, we are going to inspect them. Now, catch this. They get inspected by the health department. They get inspected by another group. Now, the fire marshals, who are only 10 of them, who investigate fires, inspect all these marijuana, inspect all of these others, these stores. Now they're going to inspect 4,000 trailers. And guess what? They have to do it once a year. I mean, restaurants don't get that much attention. Why are we giving attention like this to these trailers? Insanity. And then here we have this regulation that ain't even a regulation. And guess what? So I'm calling them. I'm like, hey, well, you want alarms? Don't you? I'm like, look, when you have one room, you can walk out there and go, hey, everybody, there's a fire. Get out. I mean, there's your alarm. You don't need it. It's not a 5-story, 10-story where people wouldn't know this. Yes, if you have a 5-story, you need an alarm. But when you have a one room, you don't need an alarm. You know what I mean? So again, I get to looking, I'm getting to studying. Bob, they get about 1.8. I think I'm coming off the top of my head for their annual budget. They already have saved in the last couple of years $7 million. It looks like $7 million, Bob. Well, guess, are they a profit? They're supposed to be a nonprofit, but what they're doing is they're going out and creating so many regulations, finding the crap out of people, charging them. You can't get, have you put in like to build something, you can't get it, and you're asking, then they're going to add this. Every one of them's an extra fee. They're making bank $7 million, and their officers who are highly trained can't even get a 20-year retirement like the rest of the law enforcement. It's a shame. And so I'm going to be looking into that one too, Bob, because I am sick of regulations. We got the Oklahoma Corporation. We need to deregulate some of DEQ. I would say we could deregulate fire marshals. We could deregulate all of these things that would get the foot off the neck of Oklahoma in business. If you'll remember, one of the big things that Trump did the first time he was in is deregulated, and guess what? Business took off. If Oklahoma would deregulate, Bob, I've listened to some of these agencies brag about having worse regulations, enforcing regulations more than California, and even more than the federal government themselves. Now, that's not a good thing to brag about, in my opinion. And again, they shouldn't be making that kind of money. So we're going to be looking at that. Bob, one of my favorite ones and you've heard me talk about this quite a few times. So I wrote A.G. Drummond quite a while ago and said that in 2012, in a case Stice versus Mashburn, Mashburn being a Cleveland County DA, Stice being a special judge in Cleveland County, they had a lawsuit where Mashburn filed and said that I think it was judicial complaint. Anyway, saying that Stice didn't have the authority to not do one of their plea bargains, and Stice said, "I'm not giving you probation because you're doing fraud. You ain't doing probation. All you are is collecting money." They sued him. He won the lower court. And Bob, guess who was the attorney representing Stice?
Who?
Stan Ward. So me and Bob got a good buddy, and I didn't know this. And I'm telling old Stan one day about all this. Stan, let me tell you what's going on. Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you all about this. I was going to impress him big. He goes, JJ, do you know who the attorney was in that case? I said, who was it, Stan? He goes, that was me. And I was like,
yeah.
So again, he actually helped me understand a lot about this case. I would run to him in my right stand, and Stan would let me know whether I was right or wrong. So again, when they say, well, JJ, you're not an attorney. No, but I know one of the best attorneys that ever lived, and he told me I was right, and I'll take that to the grave. I'll guarantee you if he said it, it'd be so. So anyways, Bob, they filed this lawsuit, lost. All the DAs together appealed it. 2012, the appellate court told them they had to use somebody for the actual act supervision, and that means two things. They can't use it to fund their office, and they had to actually do the actual supervision, meaning if you just pretend, if you just set a person up there at the window collecting money, that ain't probation. That's doing nothing. It's fraud.
Hey, there's a guy killed this morning at one of our prisons, one of our jails.
In jail, yes, that's what I.
Oklahoma County Jail, I think it was. I think it was there.
Oklahoma or Cleveland?
Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. It's one of the other. It's either Cleveland or Oklahoma.
And we don't know that, guys. We don't know. We just know there was another death in one of our.
I guess we're the first that sent it out was to Cleveland County, so I'm assuming it's Cleveland County.
That's why I looked when that came to me. It was a Cleveland County person, and I assumed it was Cleveland County. But we don't know that. We'll have to confirm. But Bob, back on this DA deal, they're collecting $40 a month. They were told they can't do it. A guy named Biggs, Scott Biggs, you remember him, Bob, from Shade. Scott Biggs, when they lost this case, goes in and files a law that says the DAs can collect money, whether they supervise or not, on a prosecution fee. The only deal is they either got to collect this one or this one. But if they collect the supervision fee, it can't be used for their office, and it must be used for the actual act. That didn't nullify what the
you've talked about that several times, JJ.
Yeah, but Bob, this is where it's at. You got to keep up, Bob. You got to keep up. Come on.
Well, I want to ask you something about bigger than that.
No, this is big.
What's this thing about $1.3 billion?
Well, I'm gonna get to that one. We're saving the best for last.
Better hurry.
This is $55 million, Bob. So again, here's the deal. They're doing it illegally. They're collecting it illegally. The AG comes back and says, well, JJ doesn't understand the law. And this is where we're, Bob, I have talked about it several times, but this is why it's different today. The AG said JJ doesn't understand the law because Biggs went in there and passed this law. That's what he's claiming. The AG is playing a little smoke on you. He's playing a trick. He's using word games because guess what? He knows that didn't nullify and they can't use this. Now, instead of arguing with him, what I've done, I've spent the last year or so collecting 40,000 entries of supervision fee. Now we can't argue which one it is. It's supervision fee. I tracked that with $55 million to 4 counts in the DAC, the DA's council. So that means they illegally collected 55 million, sent it here. Now, if they were to use it for probation, there you could argue whether they actually did it or not. but they didn't. They took that 55 million and they put it in general fund at the state capitol. When that money left their hands, guess what they committed, Bob? Fraud. It's the easiest fraud case you ever, because guess what? I already tracked 40,000. That's what it was. I already tracked the money to these accounts. I tracked the money left their hands.
Then what's the next move? If it's simple and like all this is going on, what's the next move?
So here's the deal. I'm probably fixing to write Pam Bondi and say, I've turned this over to the AG and I want y'all to look at it, because who else can we go to when all the DAs are committing fraud and the AG covers up for them? And I've got it, man, I've got it all down to a pat. So again, that's 55 million fraud right there, big time. And so again, we got the lawyers that Bob added on that. We've got the DAs, we got DHS, DOC, mental health, the jail, the attorneys for this ACCO deal, the fire marshal, and we're going to see if we get two more in here. This one's big. We're going to go ahead and drop this. I started looking at broadband because they put in $1.3 billion, Bob. About 500, almost 600,000 of that would be ARPA and COVID money. It's called CFP or something like that, but it's ARPA and COVID money. Right. They got another deal called BEAD. It's BEAD, and that's the broadband equality something. And so again, it's another 600 and something. Altogether, $1.3 billion. And I started looking at that. And so I went to a pretty large company and was like, hey, why is this costing so much? Because here's what I was looking at. We, a long time ago, put electricity into every house. So we went and built infrastructure to every house. So you have these small companies like Choctaw Electric, Southeastern Electric, but you have PSO, all of these. How come we didn't take that cable, attach it to the already existing poles right there, which have been easy breezy, drop it into every house at once, which would be easy breezy, and they already have it on billing. They don't even have to create a new billing system. We could have had broadband all across Oklahoma, no problem, easy breezy, for a fraction of the price. Now I go back to larger companies who have already installed in the ground, infrastructure, but we don't pick up and piggyback off that. Why are we not piggyback off of that? Because that creates. So I went to them and said, how much would it cost for y'all to do this versus all of this new line? Bob, we looked at one group, and we took that one group and we looked at what they were providing. It was going to cost roughly $43 million per house to put in. $43 million. Guess what it cost this group to put it in?
How much?
$3,500.
Really?
$1,000, whatever it is, 37 something.
When did you have the time to do all this?
Well, Bob, I'm a busy man. I do a lot of stuff. Hey, we ain't even hitting the surface on all the stuff I've got. I've got some death penalty cut stuff that we ain't even talking about. That's great. But anyways,
I wonder why the governor hadn't even called you and asked you for help, or what's going on, or what's your thoughts, or something. As much as you have, as much as you've done, as much work as you do.
What I know for a fact that people went to our current leadership and said, y'all shouldn't fight JJ. What you should do is just let JJ investigate, help him investigate, and then take care of what he'll make y'all look good. And if they would do that, I would have left them alone. I'm going to file a lawsuit on them, make them look bad right now. But guess what? I would have left them alone, would be happy to investigate. They could have just said, we don't want you being chairman. We don't want you doing this. We want you to investigate. You bring back what you find. And I'd have done it if they'd agreed to do something with it. Right. I'm not going to do it for nothing. I want something changed, and I want to fix stuff. And Bob, you know what? A lot of people accuse me and you of being negative, and I've never responded back to this. But the difference between us and a lot of people who just sit out there and bitch and complain is, guess what? I just told you a solution. I'm not just saying they're stealing money. I'm not just saying we got a $1.3 billion hole in the ground that we're giving a 10 or 12 groups a lot of money. But I also told you I went and talked to a group that can do it for a fraction of the cost. That's how you fix it. You piggyback off of the infrastructure. It's not brain surgery. I can fix it. I can save you massive amounts of money. Bob, I had a person tell me the other day, why are we even doing this? Why are we not going to Elon Musk and saying, hey, could Oklahoma buy 7 or 8 satellites, Starlink satellites, and let us just do Starlink? We don't have to put up any infrastructure. We can get it all over for a cheaper price. Bob, one of the people that I've got a friend, or actually some kinfolk, that he is a computer guru and he goes all over the world. He just got back from Thailand and he saw me talking about this broadband. He sent me a message that in rural Thailand, it costs them $40 a month to get internet, to get great high speed internet.
Where?
In Thailand. Thailand, a third world country. And here we are in the United States, and I got $85, $90, and it ain't good quality. And now I'm sitting here trying to get broadband for the last 2 to 3 years. I finally got the box on my building, but I ain't even hooked it up. It's been 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. No hookup.
But you don't hook it up. They hook it up.
Well, but they ain't hooked it up. I mean, they've had the line laid for I don't know how long. And Bob, I'm trying to do these little Zooms, and golly, we ain't got great internet. You know what I'm saying? Why are we paying $1.3 billion and getting absolutely nothing? And then if you went in and looked at some of these bids of how a $9 million company can bid a $90 million job, Bob, they don't have the clout, they don't have the capital, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the manpower to do these jobs. So how are they bidding a $9 million company bidding a $90 million job? And they're doing them back asswards. How do you go to second base before you go to first? You had to know you was going to get on first. They're going over here and doing this one. Well, if the cake's baked, they had to know they were going to get this one, or they couldn't have come over here and got that one. So there's a lot of things going on that if somebody would look at these, and it ain't just one company. I just looked at one, just boom. But again, it's not one, it's a bunch of these. And there's
have you ever put pencil to all the things that you have found, the amount of money that's been involved in it this year? You put pencil to it?
No, Bob. It would be, well, there's 100 million, there's 90 million. This insurance deal is going to be massive millions. This insurance deal will be a couple of hundred, if not 500 or 600 million. This insurance deal, Fire Marshals, 7 million. Oh, we ain't even talked about the hospital. That's going to be a bunch of, Bob, when we went this managed healthcare, the rural hospitals got hosed and they can't get their money collected. And there's some sketchy stuff going on where they can't even get a hearing, where they can't get paid on services, and it's millions and millions of dollars. And so I'm looking into that one too. I think I will have something on that pretty soon. So
speaking of that, what about going back to DOC? A judge told me that they got guys that he sent to prison, and they're still in the county jail 6 to 7 months later. And it's already time to relook at his case again, what they're going to do. How can they do that?
And the deal is they got certain programs in the prison where it's just a year-long program or so. So if they can't get them in there for 6 months, they don't even get to complete the program. So why even have a program if you can't get them in there like that? And so, Bob, we ran a bill to say that they could only, that the county would be able to notify them within 3 days. I got that passed out of the House at least 3 times, and the Senate killed it every time. So again, I don't think we have that in there. We should have that in there, but DOC should operate. And in fact, if that person that contacted us, I'll try to see what I can get done. But now DOC hates my guts.
Well, they're taking the rights away from that guy that's been sentenced.
Well, Bob, not only that, people don't understand. They have a level system in that prison, and as long as you're sitting there in that jail, you're not going to be able to get that level. And so you got to get there and get started. So they're costing them a lot of days. if I'm not mistaken, if they still do it
And
the
then
way
they're only paying the state $27 a day. The state says it costs 40 something dollars a day to incarcerate somebody.
well, and what's funny, if you listen to the Department of Corrections, when they come in and ask for a budget, they ain't asking for 40, they're asking for 60 or 80. So how come the state can ask for 80 and say it costs 80 to incarcerate, but go down there and tell the county, no, we're only going to give you 27. They lost a lawsuit. They had one against Tulsa. And Bob, I had a bill that I actually got through, and I let the Sheriff's Association backed off that bill to set an actual fee. I had a bill passed that would have set that, but they said, hey, we got this lawsuit. We think we'll win the lawsuit. They did win the lawsuit. So it's probably going to get them more eventually. But again, it took 3 or 4 years to get it done. So we got a lot. Bob, the point that I want to make with our listeners today is that you've got the people hollering Doge. We're doing Doge. That's a fraud. That's a make believe. They're making you sound like we're doing what Donald Trump is doing, when in reality, I'm doing all of this on the side while trying to go in and listen to bills while working. We haven't even started with Richard Glossop, David Fleener. We got another guy named Smith that I don't know if you know this, Bob, but I was involved in his case. And now the federal government has actually ordered the AG Drummond to open his investigation because there's some sketchy stuff in his. So we've got a new investigation started in that. I'm working on another death penalty case that I hope to be able to drop some really information that just shows you how corrupt some of the court systems are in our state. And we hope that'll put a pause on that case because there's some really corrupt stuff going on there, as well as filing a lawsuit showing massive human rights, as well as being involved in a bunch of petitions across the state to get justice done. So again, if one guy can do all of this, where's the rest? Why ain't others finding this? And why don't the governor have his staff doing this stuff? Because it's not that. If I can find it, anybody can find it.
Yeah, it's amazing how they get away with this. I mean, I only have main interest in the Department of Corrections because I see how they treat these people, and it's ridiculous how they treat them, how they fire them. They fired people just because they didn't like them. They didn't do anything wrong.
Right. Well, Bob, they fired them because they wanted to get their own people. I mean,
they had another warden got fired. Been 38 years or so. What was his name?
Harper's come in and fired the doctor just because he wants to get somebody he likes over there who's not even qualified. He fires the communication director, great person, because he wants to get
somebody not qualified.
Yeah, and he wants to get the political appointee. I mean, that's all it is, and it's sickening, Bob. It's nepotism, it's cronyism at the up. We haven't even talked about what I turned in on medical marijuana. Bob, we're at 4:00. I got a big deal. I turned in on medical marijuana, massive amounts of stuff to the state auditor. We hadn't seen anything on that. And that's been a year ago. We hadn't even talked about the turnpike going up 7% without legal. And again, we need to talk about the turnpike because they got a $5 billion bond. We know that went to court withstanding them, but they did it without getting any board approval. I know of another one that it looks like possibly that the whole turnpike was built, and I'm not sure it got approval. We'll have to look at all of those. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the turnpike. They were ordered to get a audit about 2 years ago. I'm still wondering where's that at. So a lot of stuff that we're not even mentioning, Bob, that I can, you know what I'm saying, that I'm working on also. It's just too much to mention. We can't even get it all in 1 hour.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing. I know you work hard. I do know that. I've been in the car with you where you can't even talk to you because you're on the dadgum phone. You hang up one call and you get 5 more calls.
It's busy. Hey, Bob, beautiful day. I am going to go out and mow my yard and then go get my son a car.
Well, I just got a tornado watch for Cleveland County.
Yeah, that boy, we had that going on last night and our electricity got knocked out. It's been bad. But hopefully,
I didn't even get any rain last night.
It didn't rain much here. The wind blew really, really bad. It was a big time storm, but not a lot of rain. But make sure you're careful. If you need something, you call me. I'll see you tomorrow, Monday, up there in the big city. Hey, y'all have a
Thank you,
blessed day.
Jay. I appreciate you.